Coach's Corner is presented by Roanoke Valley Harley Davidson. Stop by their store on Peters Creek Road for new and used motorcycles, service and repair, along with Harley Davidson clothing and collectibles.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Coach's Corner. I'm Mitch, Stewart, and this morning I'm joined by Leonard, Dawgs head coach Dan Bremner. Dan, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, of course.
Dan, you played a long time in this league. You've been coaching for a long time in this league. I don't think anyone really knows the challenges of 3 cities in 3 days quite like you do. A big result for you guys this past weekend to get all 6 points out of a possible 6. What do you think about your team's display as you guys were able to kind of overcome that adversity and get some good results?
Yeah, the guys came together in a big way. I mean, everybody's roster this time of year is kind of in shambles, but for us it kind of happened all at once with Ford and Philly and Stubbs injured, Janney getting injured first game of the weekend. So, we had a lot of new bodies and guys stepped up. And I think every game we started a little slow, a little hesitant, but we found a way to kind of persevere and come over get over the top. But especially that last one, we had an exhausted group. Steve Leonard coming back and contributing the way he did, which is just huge for us.
You talked about Steve Leonard, and I think he's always been someone as a veteran player who checks a lot of boxes. He can kill penalties. He can make life hard for goaltenders on the power play in front of the net. He'll stick up for his teammates, but this past weekend, that skill on full display. He catches fire in his return to Roanoke. How big of a boost was that in your lineup to be able to get that kind of performance out of Steve a couple nights in a row?
Yeah, it was huge. And I've talked to Steve since when he first came here this year. It's just like, I think he has more of an offensive upside than he even gives himself credit for. I think he falls, a lot of us do in the middle of a season. You kind of fall into a certain role and you accept it. And I want to keep pushing him to look for that. He's got a great shot. He's got a nose for the puck around the net, and obviously he got rewarded this weekend. I'm not expecting 5 goals and an assist every 2 games, but the goal is now to recognize what he did maybe a little bit differently and when he attacked and how he shot the puck and how we can kind of reproduce that going forward.
You mentioned a couple of those slow starts and maybe kind of had you guys behind the 8 ball a little bit early on in these games, but throughout this season, you guys have been able to prevail maybe in games where you don't start your best and you have to mount some pretty big comebacks. What does that kind of say for the belief, the confidence around the room that they've been able to pull off so many of these come-from-behind victories?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's good and bad. It says, urgency, we have to understand it. And when it comes, playoffs here, they're so quick and we can't afford to not play a period, not play 2 periods. So, we have to make sure that we understand that urgency. And before the end of the season that we're back to where we need to be with that urgent start. On the plus side, obviously, it's a benefit to have that confidence in you where even going into the second period down 3-0 or whatever the case may be, we've come back from 3 goals back in the third. To know that you have the ability to put pucks in the net like that is always a great feather to have in your cap when you need it. Hopefully we mature over the course of the second half of the season where we don't need it as often.
Austin Rodebush has just been nails all season long. It feels like every time he's in the net, he's picking up more and more results. Gets 3 more wins this past weekend. Is there anything we haven't said about kind of Austin's importance to this team that could still be said at this point?
No, he does it all. And, he's a backstop back there. Our team plays very confident in front of him. And, when we make mistakes, he consistently bails us out, which you expect your number 1 to do, but he does it in such a consistent way that, he's the man back there.
You guys get Pensacola into town this weekend. It's been a little back and forth between you guys in the season series this year. You guys split with them just a couple weeks back down in Florida. What did you see that weekend that you guys are going to kind of hope to maybe kind of attack for your team? And what are you going to try to limit a little bit for Pensacola after that win and a loss against them 2 weeks back?
I mean, our whole weekend 2 weeks back was just awful. I mean, we've gone over the video a few times and we understand we have to be better. Even in the win, Pensy played very poorly, more poorly than us, surprisingly, and then they had a reaction to it on Saturday and they beat us up pretty good. So, I just hope that taste is still in our mouth, and obviously we carried that through last weekend. We got to remind ourselves that we were a bit embarrassed on Saturday night down in Pensy, and now we have an opportunity at Redemption here 2 nights at Berglund Center. So.
Yeah, I imagine you're pretty excited to be back here at home. Dan, best of luck to you all this weekend.
Thanks, Mitch.
That's going to do it for us here on this episode of Coach's Corner. Game show night on Friday night, Saturday night, Looney Tunes night as Roanoke gets the Pensacola Ice Flyers for 2 right here at the Doghouse. Thank you all so much for tuning in today and have a great rest of your day.